I took my wife to a party. She left with her rich coworker. He threw $1 at me and said, "I'll take very good care of her tonight." The next day, when she tried to get into the house, her key no longer worked in the door. "I'm Carlos, I'm 43 years old, and I'm a blacksmith. I don't work for anyone. I own my own blacksmithing and metal fabrication company. I started 20 years ago with a small workshop. Now I have a plant with 35 employees, contracts with large construction companies, and a business that generates good income. My hands are calloused. I smell like metal and welding, but I build something solid." Valeria and I had been married for 22 years. We met in college. We fell in love quickly. The first few years were good, but over time something changed. As my business grew, Valeria seemed to see me differently. I was no longer the ambitious entrepreneur, I was the blacksmith, the guy who came home with dirty hands. 3 years ago, Valeria got a new job. A marketing executive at a large technology company. She started traveling more, coming home late, talking about her friends constantly, and she started mentioning Mario a lot. Mario was the marketing director. Valeria talked about him all the time. Mario said this. "Mario has an incredible house." At first, I didn't pay attention, but then I started to notice things. Valeria started dressing differently, more provocatively, shorter skirts, stronger perfume. She left early and came home late. Her phone became her best friend. She took it everywhere. She would smile when she got messages. I wasn't an idiot, I knew what was happening. 2 months ago, Valeria announced to me that the company was having a Halloween party. "It's mandatory to go. I need you to go." I agreed to go, but I hated those corporate parties. The night of the party arrived. It was at an elegant hotel. There were about 200 people. I went dressed simply. Valeria went dressed as Catwoman, something that barely covered what was necessary. We arrived and Valeria immediately separated from me. "I'm going to say hi. Get us something to drink." I stayed at the bar. I watched Valeria move through the room, and then I saw him. Mario, tall, perfect hair, expensive suit. And when Valeria saw him, her face lit up. They hugged. Long, too long. Then she motioned me over. "Carlos, this is Mario." "Mario, my husband, Carlos." Mario extended his hand. His grip was firm. "Testing something." "Carlos, I've heard a lot. Valeria told me you're a blacksmith." "Interesting, very. Manual." The tone was condescending. "Someone has to build the things you guys sell." Mario laughed. "True, right? Well, take good care of Valeria. She doesn't need to be taken care of. She's an adult." Valeria shot me a warning look. I spent the next hour. I just watched Valeria moving with Mario, always close, laughing, touching his arm, too close. At 10, I approached Valeria. "We're leaving now. The party is just starting. I've been here for 2 hours. I'm tired." "Then leave." "I'm staying." "How are you going to get home?" "Someone will take me." Mario appeared with champagne. Carlos was just leaving. "Ah, what a shame. I'll make sure Valeria gets home safely." "I don't think that's appropriate." "Carlos, we're friends. It's normal." Valeria shot me a furious look. "Carlos, that's enough. Leave if you want." I stood there, feeling like an idiot, and then Mario took out his wallet. He pulled out a bill. Put it on the table in front of me. "For the taxi, buddy. I'll take very good care of her tonight. Don't worry." The room went silent. Everyone was watching, some were laughing. Valeria's mouth was open, but she said nothing. She didn't defend me. I picked up the bill, folded it, and put it away. Keep her, I said in a calm voice. Not just tonight, keep her. I looked at Valeria. When you want to pick up your things, call first. I turned around and left. I heard laughter, but I didn't stop. I drove home in silence. When I arrived, I sat in the driveway for an hour, and then I made a decision. I went inside, went to the room, and started taking out her clothes, her shoes, everything. I put it all in boxes. I worked all night. At 6 in the morning, I called a locksmith. I need to change the locks. Now. He arrived in half an hour, changed all the locks. Then I called my lawyer. Roberto, I need to file for divorce. Carlos, what happened? I'll tell you later. Can you come over today? Give me 2 hours. While I waited, I reviewed our accounts and found something that made my blood boil. Valeria had been spending thousands on hotels, expensive dinners, spas, and transfers. Transfers to Mario. My wife was giving money from our account to her lover. I printed everything. Every transaction, every receipt. Evidence. Roberto arrived at 9. I showed him everything. Carlos, this is enough. With this evidence, the divorce will be quick and in your favor. How much did she spend? Roberto checked. In the last 6 months. $8,000. Hotels, restaurants, transfers, all documented. I want her to pay back every cent. She will, and probably more. At 3 in the afternoon, Valeria knocked on the door. She tried to put her key in. It didn't work. She tried again, nothing. Then she rang the doorbell. Loudly. I didn't open it. She called me. I didn't answer. She sent me a message. Carlos, open up. My key doesn't work. I didn't reply. 10 minutes later. Carlos, open the door. I didn't reply. If you don't open up, I'm going to call the police. I finally replied, call them. When they come, I'll show them the divorce papers and the new locks I paid for on my house. Your house? Yes, my house. In my name. We're married. It's our house. Not anymore. You'll receive the papers in 2 days. Your things are in the garage. Valeria started pounding on the door. Carlos, open up. There's nothing to talk about. You already talked enough last night with Mario. She went quiet. It was just a party. It was more than a party. And you know it. Carlos, please. No. The papers are on their way. Valeria stayed at the door for an hour. Finally, she left. I lay back on the sofa and took a deep breath. For the first time in months, I felt at peace. That night, I slept better than I had slept in years. The following days were a storm. Valeria called me constantly from different numbers. I'd block one, another would appear. Her messages oscillated between pleas and threats. Carlos, please, let's talk like adults. This is ridiculous. You can't kick me out of my house. My lawyer says you can't do this. You're going to regret this. I didn't answer any of them. Roberto had advised me well. Don't talk to her. Everything in writing, everything. A week after the party, Roberto called me with something interesting. Carlos, I investigated Mario a little more. What did you find? He's your employee. I was silent. What? Mario works at your company. Well, technically at one of your subsidiaries. Marketing director of the commercial division. He was hired 2 years ago. His salary is $88,000 annually. Signed by you, although HR probably processed it. I felt my blood boil. Not only was my wife cheating on me with this guy, but I was paying his salary. I was financing the life of the man sleeping with my wife. Roberto, I want you to investigate everything about him. Everything. I'm already on it. I'll call you in 2 days. Those 2 days were long. I focused on work. The workshop was my refuge. Welding metal, creating things with my hands, seeing tangible results. It was therapy. Roberto called exactly 48 hours later. Carlos, I have everything. Mario is in debt. Credit cards maxed out. A luxury car he can barely afford. An expensive apartment with 3 months of overdue rent. Basically, he lives a life he can't afford. And Valeria. The transfers your wife was making to him were probably keeping him afloat. $8,000 in 6 months. That's more than $6,000 a month. It all made sense. Now Mario wasn't rich, he just looked rich, with expensive suits and a fake smile. But he was broke, and Valeria was financing him with my money. What can I do? Legally, as his employer, you can fire him for cause if you find inappropriate conduct. Having a relationship with the company owner's wife while accepting money from her probably qualifies. Do it. We also have the divorce. With the evidence we have, we can ask for Valeria to return all the money she spent inappropriately. The judge is going to be on your side. How long will it take? 2 months if she doesn't fight. 6 if she fights. But with this evidence, her lawyer will advise her to settle. The process moved quickly. The papers were served. Valeria hired a lawyer. They tried to fight, arguing that she was entitled to half of everything. But when Roberto presented the evidence of the $8,000 spent on an affair, things changed. The preliminary hearing was in a small courtroom. Valeria was there with her lawyer, a young guy who looked nervous. Roberto presented everything: bank statements, hotel receipts, transfers to Mario, photos from social media where they appeared together. The judge, an older man with a face that had seen it all, reviewed the documents in silence. Then he looked at Valeria. Mrs. Valeria, did you spend $8,000 of marital funds on an extramarital relationship? Valeria looked at her lawyer. He nodded. She answered in a low voice, yes. And Mr. Mario is an employee of your husband's company? Yes. The judge shook his head. This is quite clear. Mrs. Valeria not only committed adultery, but she used marital funds to finance it with one of her husband's employees. This is not going to end well for you. Valeria's lawyer tried to argue that she contributed to the home, that she had the right to use the money, but the judge cut him off. Everyone has the right to use marital funds for reasonable expenses. Hotels with a lover are not reasonable expenses. He ordered mediation before the final trial. They gave us 30 days. Meanwhile, I took care of Mario. I scheduled a meeting at the corporate office. I invited all the department heads, HR, legal. And Mario. Mario arrived confident, thinking it was a normal meeting. He sat in the conference room with his expensive suit and fake smile. I entered last. I closed the door. Mario saw me and his smile disappeared. Mario, this meeting is to inform you that your employment with this company is terminated. Effective immediately. What? Why? Inappropriate conduct. Accepting money from the company owner's wife while maintaining a relationship with her is a conflict of interest and a violation of the code of ethics. Mario turned red. That's ridiculous. You can't prove anything. Roberto, who was sitting in the corner, put a folder on the table. $38,000 in transfers. Documented, dates, amounts, everything. The head of HR added, you also violated the fraternization policy by not disclosing your relationship with a family member of leadership. Mario tried to defend himself, but he had no arguments. Security came in to escort him out. He collected his things from his office under supervision. 20 minutes later, he was on the street. I watched everything from my office. When he left the building with his box of belongings, he looked small, defeated. He was no longer the guy who threw $1 at me at a party, he was just an unemployed man in debt. That afternoon, Valeria called me, hysterical, from another new number. "You fired Mario?" "Yes. You had no right." "I have every right. It's my company." He violated policies. He faced the consequences. This is revenge. No, it's justice. And it's just beginning. I hung up and blocked that number too. The mediation arrived 3 weeks later. We sat on opposite sides of a long table. Valeria looked different, thinner. Dark circles under her eyes, her hair without its previous shine. Her lawyer had a thin folder. Roberto had 3 thick folders. The mediator was a man in his 60s. He reviewed the documents for 20 minutes in silence. Finally, he spoke. "This is quite clear. Mr. Carlos, you are the sole owner of the company, owner of the house, and the primary provider. Mrs. Valeria, you spent $8,000 of marital funds on an affair. Mr. Carlos is asking for the divorce, to keep the house, maintain the company, and for you to return the misappropriated funds." Valeria's lawyer tried to negotiate. "My client contributed to the home for 22 years. She deserves compensation." Roberto opened one of his folders. "Your client earned an average of $5,000 annually. My client earns $240,000. The house was purchased with my client's funds before the marriage. The company was founded by my client. There are no real marital assets to divide, except for savings, which my client is willing to divide equitably. Minus the $38,000 she spent." The mediator nodded. "That seems reasonable. Mrs. Valeria?" Valeria looked at her lawyer. He whispered something to her. She started to cry. "I don't have $8,000. "Then a payment plan will be established," said the mediator. "In addition to your own legal costs." In the end, the agreement was this: I kept the house, the entire company, my car, my savings. Valeria kept her car, her jewelry, and had to pay me $8,000 in monthly installments of $800 for 5 years. She also had to pay her own legal fees, which amounted to $2,000. We signed. The divorce was final 6 weeks later. The following months were about rebuilding. I focused on the business. I hired more staff. I got bigger contracts. The company grew. In 6 months, profits tripled. I also focused on myself. Gym every morning, healthy food. I lost weight. I felt better than I had in years. And then, 6 months after the divorce, Valeria appeared at my door. It was a Saturday afternoon. She rang the bell. I saw her through the camera. She looked tired, even thinner. Her clothes were simple, no longer the expensive brands from before. And behind her, in the driveway, was an old Honda Civic with smoke coming from the hood. I opened the door, but I didn't invite her in. "What do you want, Valeria?" "Carlos. I need to talk to you." "Talk. Can I come in?" "No." She was quiet for a moment. "My life is a disaster. Mario left me after he got fired. He left with someone else. I had to move into a small apartment. I work at a small agency earning half of what I used to. My car is falling apart. And I realized I made the biggest mistake of my life. You were good to me, you gave me everything, and I threw it all away for someone who only wanted my money." "My money? You mean my money?" She looked down. "Yes. Your money. I'm sorry, Carlos. I'm truly sorry. Do you think we could try again?" I looked at her. I saw the woman I was married to for 22 years. I saw her tears, her regret, but I also saw something else. I saw someone who was only coming back because she had lost everything else. No. Carlos, please, I've changed. Maybe, but so have I. And I don't want to go back to what we had. It was one-sided. I gave, you took. Not anymore. There is no chance. No. Her eyes filled with tears. Not even as friends. Valeria, you humiliated me in public. You spent my money on another man. You nearly ruined my reputation. No, we are not friends. You hate me. No, I don't hate you. I simply don't care about you anymore. Those words hit her harder than any insult. She turned to leave. Her Civic made a horrible noise when it started. Black smoke came out of the exhaust. You should take that car to a mechanic, I said before closing the door. Sounds expensive. I closed the door and went back to my living room. My house, silent, orderly, mine. 2 months later, my business won the biggest contract in its history, a $2 million commercial construction project. I hired 10 more employees, expanded the workshop, and had a forged metal sign made for the plant's entrance. It said, "Respect the man with grease on his hands. He probably signs your check." I hung it on the main wall where all the employees and visitors could see it. 1 year after the divorce, my life was completely different. The business was thriving, my health was better. I had peace of mind. Valeria was still paying her installments. $800 a month. Each payment was a reminder of her mistake, not with anger, but with indifference. The best revenge wasn't humiliating her, it wasn't destroying her, it was building something so solid that she became a simple footnote in the story of my life. I was the blacksmith, the man with calloused hands, the one who smelled like metal, but I was also the man who built an empire with those hands, who rose up after betrayal and created something better. Valeria thought Mario was the prize, a man with an expensive suit and a fake smile. But the real prize was a man who builds real things, who doesn't need to show off because his work speaks for him. And in the end, that man is me.